Now we come to the next case. Now we assume that the sender only want to send dedicated messages to the two receiver. So no common messages. So only we have R1 and R2. And we construct a codebook for the case where there are only dedicated messages, as I told you. So we consider a distribution PU1, PU1, U2, and let U1 and U2 the respective alphabets of U1 and U2. You see, we also need again an auxiliary random variable, and you will see an auxiliary channel. So we consider a function that maps U1, U2 to symbols in X, and we write X as f of U1 and U2, and Xn as Fn of U1 to the n and and U2 to the n. That means xi is equal f u1i u2i for each I from 1 to n. And we generate the code words as in the Slepian-Wolf problem. Now, how does it work? The code construction, we generate 2 to the n r1 plus r1 prime. That's the size again of the bin. Code words un1, w1, v1, where w1 goes from 1 to 2 to the n r1, and v1 this goes from 1 to 2 to the n r1 prime. By choosing the symbols u1i of w1 and v1 independently using u1. And in the same way, we generate 2 to the n r2 plus r2 prime code words u2 to the n w2 v2, where w2 goes from 1 to 2 to the n r2 and v2 goes from 1 to 2 to the n r2 prime. Now, if the encoder want to send the dedicated messages w1 and w2, he tries to find a pair v1 and v2 such that u1 n of w1 and v1 tilde and u2n of w2 v2 tilde are jointly typical. So he looks at the two code books he generates and search for a typical pair in the bins. If there's one or more such v tilde or v2 tilde, choose one and transmit. And xn is then a function of u1 to the n and u2 to the n. In practice, the decoder might know ahead of time which v1 and v2 is chosen. However, this is not necessary since the receiver will discard these indices as shown in the next step. One can in fact choose v1 and v2 ahead of time of all bins. That means a pair v1, v2 is a function of w1, w2. So that means the scheme is very special. So at the end, the decoder can already say which v1 and v2 was chosen by the encoder, but this doesn't help him or doesn't give any special information. So what does the decoder 1 do? He receives a y1 to the n, and now he tries to find a pair w tilde 1 and v tilde 1 such that u1 of n, v tilde 1, w1 tilde and v1 tilde and y1 to the n is jointly typical concerning u and y1. If there's one or more such pair, then choose one and put out the corresponding w1 tilde as w1 head as the estimate of the message. If there's no such pair, then just put out one. And the decoder 2 proceeds as decoder 1. You only have to replace the indice 1 by 2 everywhere.